Making the jump to an electric vehicle is a big change for anyone, and in this video I want to look at that change for somebody living in the UK specifically. I'm the Tech Maven and I own a Tesla Model 3 long range. I get a real world range of over 250 miles from my Model 3 depending on the conditions. And I think there are three main things to consider when switching to an electric vehicle. The first is obvious: charging. How are you going to charge your car? I'm lucky I have a driveway and I've been able to get a 7 kilowatt charger installed in my house. That means that in theory I can charge from 0 to 100% battery in 11 hours. Now I say in theory as you'd never let your battery run down to 0%, and if you're looking after the long-term health of your EV then you shouldn't regularly charge past 80% either. And this advice will vary from car brand to car brand. If your property has 3-phase power, then you can get a 22 kilowatt home charger installed, although I can't really see why you'd need more than 7 kilowatts, as even for a long commute that's enough to then charge overnight. But many people will not be able to have a charge point installed at home, and I've seen some creative solutions to this where people run extension cables out into their regular street parking space. But this solution won't work for most people. Public chargers are being added all the time, and Siemens are working on converting 300 lampposts to electric vehicle chargers in London, and I've read about other plans to do the same all across the UK. To make the change to an EV, you need to have a plan as to where you'll charge. For me, I need to charge once per week. So if I didn't have a home charger, then I'd leave my car charging for a few hours at a fast charger once per week. You can use an app called Zap Map in the UK, where you can filter by charger type and the kilowatt rating to find the chargers close to you. You can even filter by how much it will cost, and lots of chargers are currently free in the UK. The next thing to consider is the running costs. The costs of buying an EV can be higher than the equivalent petrol or diesel version. The Nissan Leaf, for example, starts from £28,000, whereas the equivalent Nissan Micra is £14,000. This means you're paying nearly double for the electric version. A BMW 3 Series plug-in hybrid jumps from £34,000 to £42,000. Although the upfront cost will be higher, I like to think of the costs over a 5-year period. It's too soon for me to give you my 5-year numbers, but others online have already done it and have proven that over 5 years the EV normally does balance out the additional upfront cost compared to the petrol and diesel versions. This is because the running costs of an EV are much lower. My previous car was a Volvo XC60 and that cost me on average 20p per mile in petrol. And so far the Tesla has cost me 1.5p per mile. The average person in the UK drives 8,000 miles in a year, so in my petrol Volvo that would have cost me £1,600 a year in fuel, whereas in the Tesla that's £120 of electricity. That's a saving of £7,400 across 5 years, which doesn't even account for increases in fuel prices or using free public chargers for your EV. Other savings include tax. I don't pay any road tax in my Tesla. And the servicing, as in theory, servicing costs on an EV should be next to nothing. The third consideration is range. And I've made a separate video about range and range anxiety, which is not really a thing for me. When choosing the right EV for you, you have to think about how much range you need. For us, we're a one-car family and this car has to do everything for us, from the daily trips to the shops, the nursery run, commuting, and the annual 1,400-mile road trip to Scotland to see family. And I'll make a video about this journey next time we do it, so make sure you subscribe if you're interested in that. For all those reasons, I wanted an EV with a range of 300 miles or more. That was the tipping point for me where I'm happy to charge at public chargers on longer trips. We were considering a plug-in hybrid BMW with an electric range of 35 miles, which would have been enough for our day-to-day driving, and then use the petrol engine when we needed to do longer road trips. Although these cars are not as efficient when you're running on the petrol engine, as you're lugging around all the extra weight of the battery and the motor. If your EV isn't going to be your only car, then you can get away with a much smaller range. As an example, for most people, the basic Nissan Leaf with a quoted range of 168 miles, which will mean about 120 miles in the real world, will be fine for 99% of your journeys. As a top tip, you're safe to assume that you'll get about 75% of the quoted range of an EV. Of course, this will vary from manufacturer to manufacturer, but it's a good starting point for your calculations. I'd love my car to have a range of 500 miles, and that will come in the future, but I don't think there's any need to wait for that day. If you're worried about making the change to electric, then be reassured that the infrastructure is here in the UK and there's no reason to delay making the change. I also haven't mentioned the environmental arguments in this conversation. If you switch to a green supplier for your energy at home, then you're also getting the added benefit of a reduced carbon footprint, which I also love. There you have it. I hope you found this video useful. Please leave a comment below about your EV journey. Are you driving an EV? Are you thinking about converting but you're not sure? Leave a comment, leave a question and start a conversation. Also remember to like and subscribe, as that will help other people find this video too. Cheers.